Hey, Tara Strong here, and you're listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
Welcome to The Pull Bag. Join us as we dig out our latest comics and discuss them with a rotating panel of the GCRN crew. So sit back and enjoy this week's Pull Bag.
Welcome to Gotham.
Hello and welcome to The Pull Bag. This is another giant-sized episode. This time around, it's episode 94 and 95 in one giant podcast. I am your host, TFG1Mike, and joining me is Jeremy Fein. Hello, sir.
Hello, good sir. How are you?
I don't want to get into it, but the neighbors are driving me crazy. Or I should say they're driving me batty. I at this point, I'd almost rather live at Gotham Academy. So we're doing something a little different, something new. I don't know if I'm always going to do this, but we're going to talk about two #1 issues from DC Comics. These are new series that have premiered this year. Was it last month, I believe? October, September? Well, no, it was this month. It was October, that's right. We're going to be talking about Gotham Academy in this portion of the podcast, which this side is episode 94, and the other side we'll be talking about Arkham Manor #1. Gotham Academy #1, when you first heard about this series, what was your initial impression before you even read it?
When I heard about it, I always heard rumors that there was supposed to be some sort of prep school for Gotham for the gifted, and I don't know if it was supposed to be like Xavier's Academy. But I heard three different rumors. One, it was supposed to be a little bit like Harry Potter. Two, there was a rumor that there was going to be a college for pre-superheroes, kind of like Young Justice, but you had to get a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in order to become a superhero. And the third one, I guess, pretty much became Gotham Academy. And I was intrigued because I finally got to see the cover. And I heard different rumors, and, you know, we know with Bruce Wayne, we know he's the quote-unquote ladies' man. And after reading the summary and picking up the issue, I'm kind of wondering what the whole deal is with this character that we're going to discuss about tonight.
Yeah, I thought the same thing as you when I first saw the solicits. I thought it was going to be like Gotham's kids, like... You know, DC has long alluded to the Bat Family and the Bat Family books, where you have the Waynes, the Kanes, the Cobblepots, you know, the Arkhams, the Gates. You know, you have all these, you know, high up families in Gotham City, and I figured it was going to be like their children or something, or it was going to be something where it was the children of, like, Batman and Catwoman, or, you know, Riddler and Poison Ivy. Not that that would ever happen, but you know what I mean? It's like one of those things. Come to find out, it's basically the United States version of Harry Potter for girls, or girls and boys. It's like, oh, God, come on, give me a break. So, people, I'm going to fully admit I'm going to be the negative one tonight. I did not like Gotham Academy #1. It felt way too emo-teen for me.
You know, I don't know what it is, but the 21st century seems to be teens are more and more emo when they make the goth. I mean, the goth kids in South Park I love. The Twilight kids in Twilight I hate. I don't think they know how to go in between. And the problem is, I'm not blaming Hot Topic. I'm not blaming the I don't know why kids are more cynical today than they were when we grew up. I don't understand it. But the only thing that I do know is not everyone that dresses like the characters in this book are going to be so, you know, you don't want to really be around them, other than the fact that, you know, okay, one of them has purple hair, or one of them dresses like a goth. You know, there's goth and there's cool, but, you know, I was really hoping for more like Lydia Dietz.
Yeah, I was hoping for something that wasn't aimed at teenagers. I was hoping for like a college dorm kind of situation, like more adult themed kind of thing. But this is basically DC's next attempt at trying to do a kid-friendly book. And let's face it, with the recent Harley Quinn annual, they're not. DC is becoming a solely adult company at this point. Scratch and sniff weed cover. Oh my God, give me a flippin' break.
Well, in defense, and again, because I've been reviewing them, I did get the digital. I did not get my hands
Good.
I heard that it was either very hard to find or there are a lot of comic book stores that were not going to be selling that cover with the weed on it. But reading that one, the justification is that Ivy got captured and Harley's trying to save her, and since Ivy is a plant lady, Harley's trying to use, the substances to distract her captors. That's the whole idea. But I mean, that's the justification. But again, it goes back to three things: demographics, denominations, and distribution. And the problem is with the demographics, I don't know at this point because it's really hard. And I think you've discussed this on New 52 versus, 52. Like, who are the demographics for the New 52? Is it old school or new school? I like New 52. I like the writing. I like the artwork. Don't get me wrong. But if you're trying to do something where you have little Archies or little Gotham or, whatever the case may be, or Muppet Babies for Gotham, I don't know who the demographic at the end of the day is this really going to be for.
I mean, something like Little Gotham or something like Beware the Batman or something like, what was the other all-ages title there? Scooby-Doo Team Up. Something like that I can get behind because it's supposed to be little kids and it's supposed to be fun. This is just too strange. First of all, the first issue does not explain enough. It just doesn't. It does not explain enough. It doesn't explain why Olive Silverlock, one of the two main characters, that she hates seeing the bat signal. She doesn't explain what her connection is to Bruce Wayne, other than the fact that she is a scholarship kid from the Wayne Foundation. The art is great. I do like the backgrounds and the colors. The character designs not so much, but I mean, basically, it's just this title is too weird. It's only the first issue, folks, and this title is too weird for me. Just to go over the creative team, you have Becky Cloonan and Brendan Fletcher are on writing. Art is by Carl Kerschel. Colors by Geyser with Dave McCaig. Letters by Steve Wands. Cover by Carl Kerschel. Variant covers are done by Becky Cloonan. The assistant editor is Matt Humphreys, and editor is Mark Doyle. Now, DC has had a huge change since they've moved to their LA offices, or going to be moving to their LA offices full time, and the entire editorial staff has changed. Katie Kubert is no longer there. Mike Martz is no longer there. Mike Martz actually went over to Marvel. So it's a whole new editorial staff at DC. Fine. It still doesn't change the fact that you have a Dildo as your co-publisher. I mean, it really doesn't, because obviously whatever he and Lee say goes. And then you have Jesus Johns on, chief operating officer, chief whatever he's supposed to be. But anyway, so Welcome to Gotham Academy is the title of this first issue. We open up with a internal monologue and looking at the Academy. We then get to the two main characters, Olive and Maps. First of all, worst name ever.
You know what this is? This is because somebody's been watching one too many tween movies, like Jennifer's Body, where I think Amanda Seyfried played Needy because she's always so needy. You always have to have like this best friend that has a bizarre name. Now, in the 80s and 90s, like when we watched Blossom, Six, but that was okay. TJ, a DJ from Full House. I mean, that was okay. But the problem is, if you're gonna have a whatever BFF or whatever this person's supposed to be, Maps, you're right. Out of all the names they could have come up with,
yeah. And supposedly, this is my own inference after reading the issue, supposedly she's called Maps because she likes to draw maps of the campus and of Gotham City. Really? Seriously?
Again, I don't know. It seems like everyone in Gotham has a secret.
Yeah. So the opening page after the opening monologue and outside of the school, we go inside the school, and Olive and Maps are are sitting outside the headmaster's office, and it opens with her map saying Olive, and she says, "Shh, what? Just shush, you're gonna make it worse. What are you talking about? We're not in trouble. Hammerhead loves you guys. He's always at Kyle's tennis games, right?" Um, and it goes on and on and on and on and on, and we get to a point where Maps realizes why they call him Hammerhead. It's because it's Headmaster Hammer. This dude looks like he's out of the 18th century.
Actually, this looks like Ra's al Ghul from Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah, except extremely older, but yeah. So the headmaster comes out and talks to them, and it's basically he's making Olive Maps's. He says, "Now I'm sure you're both wondering why I summoned you. As you missed orientation, Miss Mizuguchi, you are likely not aware that all first-year students are assigned a nanny to accompany them to campus life. Miss Silverlock will be yours." And Maps is really, really excited about this because Olive is a second-year student, I should say. And we then go to them walking across campus and in the rain, and they're complaining about this. We then have a page about their campus life, and Olive is doing a monologue of how much her life sucks and this, that, and the other thing and everything. I'm just waiting for sparkly vampires to pop out of the corner, really. That's all I'm waiting on right now.
Is it me? But when they're walking through the campus, because you have the student on the lower right-hand side, is that supposed to be a bloodline of Professor Milo from the animated series? Because it kind of looks like him.
It might just be it might have been Kerschel just, making, a reference. I don't think it's inferred or anything like that. I think it's just an homage to Dr. Milo.
I was hoping, because here was the other thing I was really hoping for, is that it would almost be like Tiny Toon Adventures, where, something. But here's the other problem. The Academy, to me, either looks like Americanized version of Hogwarts, or it looks like any other architecture that you could see in the early Batman movies. And the problem is that there's no appeal to it, because we're seeing, I guess, the exterior again, but then we're seeing like these little, trapezoids and archozoids of students inside the campus, but we're not really getting an idea of the campus to sell me to continue reading. That's a big problem right there.
So they keep walking, and Map says this rain better cut the crap. And Olive gets knocked down by some other older student, I assume a senior, Pameline Fritch.
Yeah.
Worst name ever. The names in this, other than Olive Silverlock, the names in this book just, and Hammerhead, the names in this book just kind of suck. So, you've got your standard, senior students picking on the sophomore. This book is making me go to sleep, honestly. And then we get to class here, and it's Professor McPherson, History of Gotham City 201, Module 1, Architecture and the Arkhams, Module 2, Rebuilding and the Waynes, Module 3, The Civil War and the Cobblepots. What the hell does that reference? I thought Civil War was a Marvel thing.
Well, I think it had something to do, there was some sort of Civil War with the Cobblepot family and the Wayne family. There are always these references because, again, it's 75 years of comic continuity. So every now and then, if you go, I guess, with the video games, or you go with the comics or the cartoons, they seem to be grasping at straws and taking every ounce of mythology that they read from previous Batman incantation, put it in here, and trying to say, okay, because there is mythology with the Cobblepot family, and of course we know there's mythology with the Wayne family. So why don't we just try to change it around a little bit about what they were like pre, in the 19th century, pre 20th century? Because let's be honest, the Wayne family helped build Gotham, if I'm not too mistaken. Cobblepots also, we kind of know their story. So I think that's what they were trying to do, but again, the problem is that they didn't really they needed to make this into a graphic novel and prop it a little bit more, where, and by propping it I mean making a fictional script or a fictional album like in Arkham City on the history of the Cobblepot family. That would have worked a little more and eradicated confusion.
Yeah. So the teacher, Miss McPherson, is going on about the lesson. We get to a shot of Olive, who basically already knows all this stuff and doesn't really care about it, and she's drifting, daydreaming out the window, and someone hits her in the back of the head with a throwing star paper. And it turns out to be Colton Rivera. Her internal monologue says, "Trouble, this is my life." We get to the best part of the book. Lunch, which is Belgian waffles. Belgian waffles, scrambled eggs, bacon, omelet bar, home fried potatoes, and fruit. Basically, this is the best school lunch you're ever gonna have, people. Like this is the school lunch for the rich kids, and it's just so crazy. So we have your standard cafeteria scene, and Olive doesn't really want to see Maps or her brother Kyle, and Maps is kind of disappointed, and she wants it to be like how it used to be, and everything else, and it just, oh god, this book.
Here's the problem. I don't even think girls are going to like this, but it pretty much deals with Olive just wants to be by herself. Like, nobody understands me, and Maps is like the new kid who just wants to be, like, not popular. You're right. And the problem is that they're picking names out of a hat, and it goes back to what I said before with all these tween books. If you think this is bad, you should see all the other tween books that I've come across in Barnes & Noble, where they're just picking names. It's like with Hunger Games and Twilight and all these other knockoffs. It's like, we'll just pick up a name like Abris Puffinutty, and we'll make that into this name, and we'll give him cotton candy hair. The problem is that this is supposed to be where the Academy, I'm assuming it has a past, but I go back to, if you have the Arkham family and the Cobblepots and the Gates and the Court of Owl, they have better pasts than with this book. And the thing is that Dana and I were discussing Arkham House on Sirius Earth last week, and we noticed that there was maybe a certain villain who has a certain bloodline to Arkham. That would have been interesting. But we don't get any of that because it just goes back to, Olive having these bullies. Maps is trying to talk to her. Olive doesn't want to be there. Maps doesn't want to be there. They try to explore the Academy by themselves and try to solve a mystery because they're trying to, move away from the plot. They figure if they stop, Olive decides to stop being so whiny and bitchy, readers are going to get back to her. They figure if Maps is going to be gung-ho and everything, opposites attract, and we've seen that one too many times, and that's not working too well. They go to the top of the, Forbidden Tower of Arkham. Of course, Maps falls off of the tower. She's holding onto the gargoyle. And, Olive goes after her, and they're both, she takes a rope, throws it down to Maps on the bell tower, and of course all these bats awaken and are flying around.
Well, because the bell rings. She says when they're going up there, don't touch the rope because it'll ring the bell and everybody will know we're here. When Maps is standing up there and she's looking around and she leans on part of the building that collapses, that's how she falls off. And, Olive... Maps thinks Olive has left her, but she has actually gone to get the rope that rings the bells, and she jumps out and, bong, and she basically rappels down the building to get Maps, and all the bells are ringing, the bats come out, and then we get to Bruce Wayne, who says he didn't attend that long at Gotham Academy, but he was there, and he's happy to still help out. And then that's when Maps and Olive kind of drop in on him. And I really think just having Bruce Wayne as a speaker at this place, it's so forced.
Yeah, because they have to put Bruce Wayne in because they figure if they don't have Bruce in this comic, nobody's going to care.
Yeah. And I still don't care that he's there. I mean, it's fine that he's there. I like the writing for Bruce in this, but I still don't care that he's there because the crux of the book is about Olive and Maps and their adventures and whatever else. And there's one shot, there's one image this entire book that's absolutely amazing. It's when Olive thinks she sees Batman, as the teacher is flashing a light in her eye after they fell or whatever else, and it turns out to just be Bruce, and they have a back and forth and whatever else, and she goes back to her dorm room with her roommate here, Lucy, who we saw earlier for half a minute. And Lucy got really scared. She opens up the window and she's like, "Oh, that's just a bad signal. Same as every other night." And we then flash to a crack in the wall where it ends on, they start laughing about, Lucy says, "I don't know, down the side of a building, uh, you know, etc." Referencing Olive's little tryst earlier with Maps, and we see this crack in the wall for 3 panels, and then we see like an eyeball kind of thing inside the wall, and it ends on a "to be continued."
Just when it gets good, or something like that. Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
If this was handed out a free comic book day, I would have said maybe. If this were, during the Harry Potter years, I would say maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what to say. I've walked into a couple comic book stores and nobody really seems to either know about this comic, care about this comic, or been discussing this comic. Apparently, it's been getting a lot of positive reviews. I don't see where. And again, maybe it's me, but just when it starts to get good, it's to be continued. I just don't care about this character. I've seen this character one too many times. Maps the same thing. And the design of Bruce, I mean, again, we get that Bruce is Batman, and the way that they keep trying to make it where it's not Batman is getting like really old really quick. I understand what they're trying to do. This one, I think the worst thing to say, oh, is it Bruce Wayne and or Bruce Wayne and Batman the same? No, this one was just like everything was forced in this.
Yeah. I will not be continuing on with this series. I don't care how quote unquote good that cliffhanger was with the eyeball on the wall. It's just not for me, people. It really isn't.
Ditto.
Based on our GCRN universal rating scale, my personal rating based on that scale would probably be 2 stars out of 5. There were a couple of images that I liked, like seeing the bat signal. There were, the whole image with Olive, rappelling down the building to save her. That was kind of cool. The whole image with, her thinking that was Batman in his shadows, and it just didn't explain enough for a first issue for me. It really explained nothing about the characters other than Olive doesn't want to be there. She's constantly picked on by the older students, and she supposedly has so many relationship problems with Maps' own brother. It's too tween. It's not even tween. It's too teen for me. I would rather read Little Gotham than read this.
You don't even want to know what I would bring up to read besides this, but on a professional level, I'm dropping it down to 1.5 because as soon as the only thing that caught me, I will give credit where credit's due. I like the cover where they're repelling down and the bats and the bat signal. Okay, that would be great on a shirt or on a desktop screen, maybe. But the names, as I said, it's like they have to pick these bizarre names that are not. It doesn't, it doesn't have a ring to it, and even the Academy, there's nothing interesting about it. It's like any other Gothic Academy that I could see. So at the end of the day, I'm not that impressed with it. Bruce Wayne showing up as Force, it almost feels like, a pilot where we have to put him in. So on a professional level, 1.5, because I don't think, I don't see anybody really. I don't want to subscribe to this series. And on a personal level, I would give it a 0.5 because it's just something. If I never read or find out again, I'll die a happy person.
Yeah, we're gonna take a quick break and then we're gonna head to Arkham Manor. Wait, what? We'll be back after this.
Now for a behind-the-scenes look at Geekcast Radio Network's newest show, Talking in Circles.
So, Chuck, Greg, what are you guys thinking for this week's show?
Well, Dan, how about we just talk about the things that we've read or watched this week?
We do reviews like that every week, Chuck. How about a game like Fact or Fiction or The Power of Names?
Those are great, and we're always coming up with new ideas for games. And how about some top fives? You know how I love my top fives.
What about tournament-style brackets, or sequel, reboot, and destroy, who will win in a fight, taking it too far, crazy but true news, or...
Yes, it appears we have lots of things to work on.
Listen to Talking in Circles, taking timeless topics in new directions, every Tuesday on iTunes or GeekCastRadio.com, the Geekcast Radio Network.
Hey, Dan, who's the guy with the creepy voice?
Remote Control is the new TV podcast from the Geekcast Radio Network. We'll be covering TV shows and topics from the year 2000 to whenever now is. We'll have special themed episodes entitled Pilot and Season Premieres, as well as finishing finales. We'll also have Season Pass episodes, where we take a look at an entire season of a TV show. Remote Control can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, and www.geekcastradio.com, so tune in, because we are all remote controlled.
Hey Geekcast listeners, do you ever listen to Punisher Body Count and think to yourself, this show would be awesome if it had less toilet humor and was not about the Punisher? If so, join me, Emily Williams, as I class up the Punisher guys on Dane and Jake Get Classy. We're like the Oprah Book Club of comics. You'll hear us discuss famous works like The Dark Knight Returns and The Crow, along with graphic novels no one else is talking about, like Blue Monday and Blankets. You can find us at daneandjakegetclassy.wordpress.com or on iTunes.
Arkham.
The asylum had been moved to a newer high-security building. The old building had been partially demolished and hung open like a rotting wound.
Alright folks, it is time to enter Arkham Manor. Now, what was your first impression when you heard about this one?
That house, what was it? The housing foreclosure, the market wasn't doing too well a couple years ago. This to me would have been great social commentary, but on the other hand, I'm kind of like, Marvel has something called the What If series of the 80s, and I believe that DC has something called Elseworlds. Yeah. And I thought that this was going to be something like the New 52 is bringing back Elseworlds, which would have been perfect. I saw the cover. Well, first of all, I read on comicbook.com and some other sources, like, what if Bruce Wayne lost all his money? I think it would go something like this. I then saw the cover where Wayne Manor became Arkham Manor, and I'm also going back to... Well, actually, you know what? I'll save those references for later. In the meantime, because I'm getting way too ahead of myself, in the meantime, the cover itself, in theory, this is not an idiotic idea. I get where they're going with this, and I don't think there is supposed to be social commentary. The only thing I'm going to apologize for is that I should have read Batman and Turtle number 30 a couple days earlier, because I think that's where this is supposed to come off of.
Yeah, I did go and read Batman Eternal number 30. Basically, the events in that are Arkham collapses and everything else. So this picks up after that, where they need to put the inmates somewhere, and they're putting them in like this stadium for a while, this sports stadium, and obviously they're going to escape out of that. I mean, there's just the cover. I absolutely love the cover. My initial thoughts was I heard about this after I'd heard about Gotham Academy, and for me, folks, it's you put two options in front of me, and I choose one. I don't choose both. So someone put Gotham Academy in front of me. I gave it a shot. I don't care for it. You put Arkham Manor in front of me. It's kind of like Robert Frost. Two roads in the Yellow Wood diverge. I'm definitely on board with Arkham Manor. This is amazing.
This did not disappoint. And of course, we have to go to the writer.
Yes, absolutely.
Mr. Duggan, because this is somebody that, of course, has written several Deadpool comics. So we know the sarcasm, and we know how he's going to mix, the sarcasm and the commentary, and I think he does it well. And this is how a cover should be, because I just love the fact how the name Wayne has just been scratched out and Arkham is written on chalk, and I just love the Mad Hatter, how he has that devil. I mean, they don't even have a Joker. You have Mad Hatter with that grin. You have, I guess it looks like Poison Ivy. You've got, I guess that is Mr. Freeze. I mean, with the dome.
Mr. Freeze, Scarecrow.
That's Scarecrow? I thought that was Ragdoll.
In the back, I thought it was Scarecrow. Whatever, I don't know. Either way, doesn't matter.
But the point is, you're right. Arkham go boom, or at least it's been engulfed in this green earthquake thing, and we see people running like ants.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It's like, where are they going to put the where are they going to put Arkham's rogues? Now, of course, in Arkham City, we know what happens, but this is not Arkham City, and
No.
I love the fact that even with the construction crew coming, I just love this imagery, and it works so well, where the guy just comes with a hammer, and you have that on the crest, the Wayne name, and he's just like knocking it off with a hammer and just making it look like an A.
Yeah. I do love the Mayor Hattie going through the list, and he's like, I'm not giving up the observatory. The old Lawridge farm is condemned. None of these places is right. Wait, this last name might work. And I guess the clerk or somebody else or whoever it is, he says, I left that on there just to make you laugh. We'd have to use the power of eminent domain, but I think we have a winner. We'll move the loonies to Wayne Manor. But yeah, so he the construction worker crosses out. He basically hits off the top two parts of the W to make an A. So it is Arkham Manor, and I love Batman's internal monologue here, where he's talking about his father and his, how his father wanted the mentally ill to be helped, and really that's what this book is all about. I read an interview, I believe it was Comic Book Resources, had an interview with Mr. Duggan about what the book is going to be about, and it's going to be exploring mental illness, and it really appeals to me, especially since Bruce is the centerpiece in this. Like, I have not read Batman 35. I'm not reading Scott Snyder's Batman right now. I'm barely reading Batman Eternal. I just don't, because the whole thing right now is Batman number 35 takes place after Batman Eternal ends. Well, Batman Eternal isn't ending until March of next year. So why would you put a story in a book that's supposed to happen after the events of the entire series of Batman Eternal? That makes no sense to me whatsoever. So, but Arkham Manor, I'm completely on board with this. I love Bruce's monologue. I love how he prepared for two options after the judge made his decision, either to hand it over or to, make the house no more. I love seeing the Batcave and the fact that he sealed up the staircase and all that. The art in this is amazing. It just is.
The artwork to me seems to pay homage to the 70s and 80s of DC, and I love how, I mean, once again, we just talked about Academy. We're talking about now. Bruce in Academy looked like something out of anime. And I'm not taking anything away from all anime. I'm just saying certain anime. That's what Bruce came off as. This one here, I love how we see Bruce without his cowl. I mean, he's in his, but he's just sitting there brooding and going through his options. And I just love the design of him contemplating what he wants to do. And then he puts on the cowl. It's a great design of Batman in this world. And you're right. They have talked about the Waynes of what they want to do with the mentally ill. And they talked about this before they were gunned down. I think that's also continuity that they were talking about with the TV series Gotham. So it kind of all plays out because that was always a big what if in a way. What would have happened if Thomas and Martha would have lived? And we know that in the Nolanverse, because, 75 years is like so many universes in DC.
Yeah.
But in the Nolanverse, we know that Bruce faked his death and he turned Wayne Manor into an orphanage for the kids. We know in the TV series Gotham what Thomas and Wayne Martha wanted to do for Arkham. And we know in this universe right now what Batman is doing to make the right decision. And I think in his mind, at least in the first few panels, his justification is that he'll now know where they are, that he feels that they're not going to escape from Arkham that easily because, I don't know the geography of Wayne Manor from Gotham City to Arkham because I don't really have a map in front of me and I don't know if a map has ever been created. Here, it just makes a little bit more sense because if he captures anybody, it's his house. And I think it's another excuse for him because we've discussed this. If it were up to Bruce Wayne, he would be Batman 24/7. And I feel that the only problem is now is that he's got Alfred. And he's got Gordon, and he's got Bullock, and he's got Barbara, and he's got his Bat family. So it's going to open a lot of doors and ask a lot of questions. But then again, he's lost most of his money, or he's lost all his money. I don't know because I don't know what happened with Batman Eternal, how he lost his fortune, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I don't think it's gotten to that point yet. I honestly don't know. Like I said, I did read Eternal number 30. And basically, it just shows the collapse of Arkham Asylum. It says nothing about Bruce losing his fortune, so I'm not sure. I do love this kind of 2-page spread where on the left it's a flashback where Gordon and Alfred are, and he says Bruce, and it then goes to where Batman is, because he goes and says, the only difference now is, going to Arkham, I need to go through the front door instead of obviously going through the cave, and, the administrators are like, you can't be here, and blah, 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 and Harvey's like, let him through, and he goes to see, because apparently 2 murders have happened, one in Arkham and one somewhere else as well, and, Bruce's monologue, talks about how the house saved him and whatever else, and we kind of end on, this whole mystery of who these guys are. It shows up that one of them doesn't, is a John Doe, doesn't have a name, and I thought this was going to be a Joker thing. I really did.
The problem with putting Joker in, and as I said, if you put Joker in, we've seen how he's going to take a cream pie and destroy the story. I think this has to be a serious one. Not that Joker wouldn't be serious, but wise man once said, Batman can't fight the Joker every week. And I think the best stories is when Joker is not involved, because this way you could look at other rogues, see how well they do. Then you bring, you bring the best player in when the points are going down and the crowd is ready to pick themselves up and leave. This book is smarter because you're getting people to get off the bleachers and into the game.
Right, but what I'm saying is like this whole thing at the end with the John Doe and giving this John Doe a name, and they go and look at the Jack Shaw. Like that whole thing when they go to a race, they go to Jack S and then they go to JA. I thought that was some sort of Joker reference. I know it's not, but that's what I thought it was when I first read this.
I thought so too, but then I thought to myself, you know what? I kept saying maybe yes, maybe no, but I don't know. I'm sure he's going to have some sort of foot in this, but it just keeps you guessing, which is a smart thing.
Yeah. And, so this guy, this John Doe, this prisoner goes into Arkham Manor, and the guy there is, he goes and says, let's see, where is it? Whoa, what are they feeding the homeless these days? Nothing. Touché. I'm Eric Border. You are without a home in Gotham, but you have one now. If you treat the staff and your fellow patients with respect, it will be returned to you. This is a place of healing, Mr. I'm Jack Shaw. And it just goes, welcome to Arkham Manor, and it has a to be continued. This was much better executed than Gotham Academy.
I think so. My other question is, because next to Jack is a shadow of Batman. So I guess my other question was, is this supposed to be Bruce undercover?
I don't think so. I really, really don't think so.
Because I'm kind of wondering, like, why they would have the shadow of Batman next to him. And I know that Bruce has been known to go undercover before. I thought of that. As for the John Doe, there's a graphic novel called Arkham Living Hell, and there's a character named Jane Doe. And what Jane does is that she's a chameleon, and she's able to change voices and appearances. She's not Clayface, but she's just able to, find other ways to change her appearance. And what she does is that she gets to know somebody, so when she's ready to put on their, costume or, carve their face and make it hers, she takes over that person's life for a while. I thought maybe that was, the John Doe for this universe. But then when I see the Batman shadow, I'm not too sure. So it's smart that they're not really bringing in the heavy guns of Arkham's elite. And I think the best image that I can see right now is that split between young Bruce and Batman. And when young Bruce is going up to Gordon, and Gordon says Bruce, and then you have it like that magenta, I guess, and then next to it you have the blues, and Bullock is telling Batman let him through. I think that's the best image right there. This is a smarter story, and I'm not just saying because Academy may or may not be for girls. The point is, this one, the designs make sense. The story has a great build-up. It has a great first act, second act. I want to know what the whole Jack Shaw mystery is about, and I like the idea that Arkham Manor, because once again, in Arkham City or Arkham Asylum, we of course saw the Batcave underneath Arkham Asylum. So this works, and I guess if we rate it, okay, what would you rate it?
For me, it's a 5. It's a great opening to the series. The art is interesting. There are a couple of art points where I think Batman just looks too dirty, and I think that's just the art effect. It's not Batman himself, but there was a page where he just looked a little too off. But overall, this is refreshing. This is fun. It was fun hearing Bruce's internal monologue as far as the history of the house and his dad and his mom and everything else. And I'm really excited to see what kind of mental illnesses and what patients that they do encounter here in Arkham Manor.
Yeah, I give this a 5 out of 5. And again, this also reminds me a little bit of the DC Comics of the 80s, where Doctor Strange caused Bruce Wayne to go insane through psychedelic drugs and robotics, and caused the Wayne fortune to dissipate, and Dr. Hugo Strange dressed up as Batman for a while. It also kind of reminded me what The Dark Knight Rises should have been. But this one, I could not wait to subscribe to this series. And again, it doesn't matter what demographic you are. I mean, male or female, age range, I would say this would be good for, maybe 16 and up. But the bottom line is, this just has a more satisfactory feel to it. So definitely a must-own.
Yeah, all the way around, it really does. So we give Arkham Manor a 5. I gave Gotham Academy a 2. You gave it a 1.5, I believe. Yeah, we will be continuing on with Arkham Manor. I may bring JT from Saskatoon in with us on future issues of Arkham Manor. I don't know yet. But Gotham Academy, I'm done.
Yeah, we're done with that one.
I just, it's too teen for me. It's like, it goes back to in December of 1999. I was living in Biloxi, Mississippi, and there was a Books A Million about, I don't know, less than 5 minutes away from where my girlfriend and I were living at the time. And I went in and I'm like, okay. And I hadn't read a lot of books like recently. I was 19 at the time, and like I wasn't really reading that much because I was basically moving all over the eastern seaboard between 97 and 99, and it was a whole nightmare. So I asked one of the bookstore clerks. I said to her, I said, I'm looking for something new to read. What would you recommend? And she says, oh, well, I have 2 recommendations. You can either read this book series by Janet Ivanovich called the Plum series, which is about a female bounty, a former lingerie buyer turned bounty hunter, Stephanie Plum, or there's Harry Potter and Wizardry. Well, can you guess where I went, folks? The former lingerie buyer, now turned bounty hunter, is the choice that I made, and I've been reading Janet Ivanovich's books ever since. I have not seen any of the Harry Potter movies. I have not read any of the Harry Potter books. I'm sure they're good. They're not for me. It's just not something that I mean, if you took Harry Potter out of Hogwarts and set it in a space battle with Death Stars and X-Wings and A-Wings and all that stuff, sure, fine, I'd love it. But unless it's Masters of the Universe, the whole, mysticism and magic kind of thing is just not my thing at all. So with Gotham Academy, it's like I said, it's basically an American version of Harry Potter with Batman sprinkled in there horribly. With Arkham Manor, it's so much more engaging and so more interesting. It's actually, since Batman Beyond 2.0 / Batman Beyond Universe is ending, Arkham Manor is my replacement book since that series is ending. So, absolutely loved Arkham Manor. Cannot recommend it enough. Gotham Academy, I wouldn't recommend that for my own dog to chew on.
Yeah, and Harry Potter, the problem is that the first 4 books and movies were good. After that, it got too emo, and I wouldn't compare Academy so much to Harry Potter, more to Twilight, because at least with Harry Potter, the characters and everything were a little bit more interesting. I'm not saying one's better than the other, but yeah, Academy, you know what, if girls really want to read, or young girls, well, maybe Harley Quinn is not the best one, but when you get older, yeah, I would just say with Harley Quinn or Suicide Squad. But Manor, this is one, as you can tell, neither of us can shut up about, so I cannot wait for issue 2.
Absolutely. So, where can the people find you online?
Where can't they find me nowadays? Facebook.com, Hunnick Outcast. Of course, on Geekcast Radio Network and the syndicated shows. Stitcher, Spreaker, Tumblr, you name it, I'm on there. You just can't get rid of me that easily.
All right, you can follow me, TFG1Mike on Twitter. You can follow at Geekcast Radio on Twitter. Or go to Facebook.com/Geekcast Radio Network to like us on Facebook. And as always, unleash the geek in you, make your great escape into comics, and visit geekcastradio.com. We will catch you next time.
You've just heard the latest episode of The Pullback, the GCRN's comic review and discussion podcast. There are several ways to get in touch with us and leave feedback for the show. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on the episode and all of our different podcasts. You can rate our show on iTunes. Be sure to leave us feedback. Call the voicemail line, 502-526-5821. Please remember to tell us the show you are leaving the message for, and your name. Become a fan of us on Facebook by searching Geekcast Radio Network. Send us an email feedback at geekcastradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at geekcastradio. So until next time, make your great escape into comics and unleash the geek in you.